Friendly reminder, I say this too little, I should say it more. Like this video, subscribe to the channel to help me bring more content from my oven right to your doorstep every week. Yo, what's up guys, new video talking about Arena Offense, more of a guide video. So first of all, I've been playing Arena, just the normal Arena, for like the longest time. I got G3 Arena probably back somewhere in 2017 for the first time. I'm pretty sure I have the most amount of G3 finishes from Europe for all players, just because I rush pretty much every week. You could say like, hey, xxKilla has more. No, he has more Legends. Because he got Legends all the time, I took all the G3s. I'm also pretty sure I have the most amount of ranked 2s in Europe server from everyone. Not the second most in Legends, but the most amount of rank 2s I definitely have, because I got about like 25 to 50 of those. I uploaded about 100 rush videos already. You can actually check it. I think I'm at number 102 and 103 or something. So I've been rushing for Arena Offense for a very, very long time. So with that all said, how do you prepare for your Arena rush? What are the things to focus on? What Arena offenses work? And I am not gonna tell you use X against Y and Z against A and something like that, because that's just giving you the answer. What I want to learn you in this video is, or teach you in this video, is that you understand how to craft your Arena offense. You understand what to focus on. You have the mindsets like, okay, this does work, this doesn't work, this is what I should focus on. Because I can give you a fish, but I'd rather teach you to fish, because that's gonna feed you for a longer time, right? So that's the thing. Metas changes. Also, different servers have different metas, but the concept still stays the same. Sure, I think Europe has one of the best metas of the stronger metas for Arena defenses, because I just feel like when I see other servers, you can disagree with me, surely, but I've seen in other servers the metas look very simple, and it's just people Lucianing, and that's the mindset you also should go away from. It's not just Lucian. You don't just spam Lucian into this, a fast Lucian, a slow Lucian, a blah blah Lucian, and you get away with it. Try that in Europe server. You're not gonna have a fun time. So with that said, I'm going to give you a few tips of rushing in general, preparing your team, all of that kind of good stuff. So first of all, a little bit more. Who should rush? I think pretty much anyone that did not finish their glory towers yet should rush. The reason for that is A, you're getting more glory points and therefore you finish your towers faster, which is always useful. B, you get a bit of a higher rank, you might get a new profile, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. But in the main cases, you're just finishing your towers faster. And yes, actually use the refills. Just give 30 crystals for 10 more wings. It is actually worth it in the long run, especially during rush, because if you can get to the next rank while using it. Wait, where are the rankings at? Weekly reward. Let's say you're normally, you could get, if you don't refresh, you could get like the Conqueror 2, but if you actually refresh once, you can get the C3. You spend 30 crystals to get 50 more. That works, right? Same for all of the next ranks. Should you rush the whole hour though? Depends. It's better to hit late than early. But in general, I would recommend anyone to rush if you don't have the glory towers finished. Also, anyone that is free to play and can net more crystals from rushing than not rushing, you should rush, because if you're free to play, you want to get all of those free to play crystals out there. And that's the reason I started rushing in the first place as well. Fixing the glory towers, but also getting the most amount of free to play crystals in the game, because that's what you should do if you care about playing this game as free to play as possible, but still as effectively as possible. Like I did for the first, I think, 3 years. It took me like 2.5, 3 years to buy my first pack or something. Then also, a thing is, for preparing your rush, the best is to be as high rank as possible when you start the rush. So currently I'm rank 77. Let's say you want to go for a G3 rush. Last week I didn't rush because it was because of my birthday. But let's say you want to go for G3 rush. You should start in G3. You should probably even try to start in the top 10. So let's say this is G3 and this is you. And you come from a low place and you're slowly climbing. Someone dragging you down, climbing. But also the G3 rank is increasing, right? So that's really an issue. What if this is G3 and you start here? You pretty much start on Legend. You just pretty much G3 is climbing, but you're climbing also a little bit. You get dragged down a little bit. You're climbing, but you drag down a little bit. And at some point it ends and you're still above G3. And that works for every rank. So the thing is, start with the highest rank possible, because it's easier to stay on the same rank than to try to climb during the rush. Also, you got two kinds of weeks. You got the soft reset and the hard reset. Hard reset pretty much means that the points are very low. In this case, the points are very low. We started off from like 1300, and then the points climb up to about, like in Europe, mostly around 2000 to 2100. If it's the soft reset, which means the points are not reset, then people get up to like 2400 something. I got Legend on like 24, close to 2400. So that's the difference. Which week is it easier to rush? In the hard reset weeks where the points are lower, 1 or 2 matches can really make the big difference that you can instantly jump a rank or not. You could get 3 defense loses in the last minute and drop from G3 all the way to like low G2, maybe even G1. That is possible. But also the other way around. Let's say you get a few defense successes very close to the end. You can get boosted to G3 very easily. So it is more of a random / luck factor in the hard reset week. In the soft reset week, you can actually be 300 points above G3 when it starts. And let's say 2400 is legend, 2100 is already G3. You could be at 2400 when rush starts. Then they have to drag you down 300 points. Sure, they are going to drag you down quite some because they win plus 15 points and you win plus 7 points or something like that. So they are going to drag you down. But it takes a good effort to actually drag you down, whereas you have the option to just try to stay high. I'm not going to talk about what defense you should put. I'll probably make another video on that. And I will give the same examples as in this video, so you can skip that for that video. But how to talk about your arena offense. So I gave like a lot of things for rushing in general. But what is a good focus for arena offense? So what you should do, which is definitely 100% the best tip for arena offense is, okay, 1. Don't just use one team. It's not just Lucian. It's not just one thing. Don't be like, okay, I don't got X, Y, Z, and therefore I cannot rush. There's always options. I'm not going to give you exact options, probably, but there are always options. But the best thing you should do is when you rush, record your rush or make screenshots of every defense you do not hit. And you're like, okay, but why would I do that? Because if you're rushing, you cannot really prepare for a rush at the moment. It's not the time of the rush. People have different defenses. People just put down random stuff. It's a lot different. But the moment in rush, you're gonna be, well, rushing, you're gonna be like stressed. You're gonna be on a time schedule. It's like, okay, cannot hit this next, cannot hit this next, cannot hit this next. And you're not really checking and taking the time to look at like, okay, but what about this defense? Can I actually hit it? Or is it just impossible for me to hit? Or can I actually build some some offenses where I can hit this kind of stuff with? And that's mindset of just seeing, taking your time to think about an offense. And with that, you can maybe actually easily be like, yo, actually, I could hit this. Actually, this does make a lot of sense. And by all means, you don't need like super heavy LDs for that kind of stuff. You don't need to be fast clearing, insta clearing a team. The most important thing for your arena offense is that you clear it safely. That you are consistently winning. Because the thing is, let's say you're at 2000 points. The moment you lose, you go 1990. But if you would have won, you would have been at 2010. So the gap between that is not just one step back, it's technically 2 steps back from where you could have been. So you go minus double. So keep that in mind. Winning all of your offense is the most important thing. I know a lot of people say like, oh, I can't rush because my defense is shit, blah, 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 this, that. No. The thing is, the most important thing where you can take your wins is arena offense. Try to craft your arena offenses which are solid, which work. If you want to see a lot of arena offense, well, I got 100 videos of arena offenses throughout my whole YouTube channel. Go through those. There's so many options, so many things. And I have a lot of specific teams for specific defense and that kind of stuff. But there's also a whole bunch of stuff I don't hit. And I don't hit that because I don't have that current team built up at that moment. So that's the thing you want to aim for. The most important thing to focus for when crafting your arena offense is there's 2 types of arena offenses. One is speed lead and the other is HP lead. Sure, you have like a whole bunch of units that make it slightly different this, slightly different that. But the main things you should focus on is having a team to counter a speed lead plus AoE stripper and then some other units. The other is HP lead plus some tanky stuff. And a thing I would keep in mind, which are a little bit different from your standard teams, but you probably want to make counters against, is a Hellfast and a Tianlang, because those are very common. So if you check my offense box that I have a whole bunch of variety of units. Sure, you see a whole bunch of the same units as well, but you also see some options. Let's say, for example, something like this, and then you follow up with the other units like fast afterwards. Is this fast enough for a TLX? Not always. What are other options? You could go a Leo plus a Konamiya because you actually boost more than a TLX at that time. But you got to keep in mind that you have to have a safe offense. Let's say you're fighting an offense and you know that if you would miss one armor break, you are 100% going to lose. If you fight those kind of offenses all the time, and you're gonna get that 15% check of the Galleon, then you're going to lose a lot of matches, and then you go back the 2 steps. So offenses like this, for example, you cannot really do anything with a Bernard push up, that kind of stuff here. But what things that are actually possible, which you could focus on, for example, because this team is quite squishy. There is not too much to it. Sure, it has a strip, but actually the strip is already single target. It is going to focus on wind. You could put another dark unit, so it both dark, a light unit, and then actually a damage dealer. Those units are never gonna get targeted. You could also go for an offense with a Heigang. Heigang is not a bad unit. Thing is, it's going to randomly strip and that kind of stuff. But there are options that you won't think of right off the bat when you're rushing. But you could actually, let's say you face this team a lot. You could actually think of those kind of teams, and there are a lot of options. And sure, I cannot give you all options right now because that is just way too much for one video. But it's just to give you a mindset of like, hey, what works, what doesn't work. Also a thing, check out what can you Lucian, what can you not Lucian. Because of artifacts, a lot of things minus wind damage makes it difficult to Lucian. So in hindsight, most of the time, if there's a Pisama lead, it is Lucian food. Therefore, anyone that comes to me is like, hey, this and this defense with a Pisama lead, do you think it's good? I think it's trash, because finesse is just way better. And your Pisama stuff is 9 out of 10 Lucian food. Even if you put a lot of fires next to it, it's still very likely to be Lucian food. So keep this thing in mind. And also, using bruiser offenses is not bad. Using bruiser offenses actually make it very worth, because you're 100% safe clearing the stuff. If you always hit someone at the end of your list, you're always taking the most amount of points. So with that said, there's a whole bunch of things. Also, some units you have to keep in mind. Let's say one of these tanky teams, there are very easy options. You do not want to Lucian this, trust me. But let's say there's a lot of glancing, anti-crits. There are units that give the glancing, anti-crit, that kind of stuff. So for giving very specific teams, I can actually tell you about which teams I use against what kind of stuff. So this is a typical speed team counter. I can outspeed Tritons with it. Only issue is if my Lucian doesn't kill 2 out of 4 units at least, then it's probably going to fail. I like this team a lot for the reason that my Kaki just does a lot of damage. It insta-clears this kind of stuff fairly easy. And it has more potential to outspeed, whereas just a Tiana does not have that. Also, this is very hard counter on the Wusa. Other options for, well, everyone can get a Kaki. Options that are more difficult to get are, for example, a Bastet, a Chiwu. You could go for other strippers, but keep in mind Chiwu is actually here to counter the Hellfest. So you need some sort of counter to a Hellfest to get in there. Megan can potentially work. It's not the best case, but you can put Megan on the slot of Bastet in the first place anyways. So those are options you have. You have bomber teams, which are pretty good into this. The only issue you have, if you miss bombs, it is not that consistent. I really like a team like this. You could be like, okay, I don't have Tiana, I don't have Poseidon. Sure, that sucks, but if you make this whole team and you make it a lot faster, and you actually put, let's say, well, it pretty much goes back to using this team. If you just put a different stripper here, and then you put a attack bar booster like a Megan in there, you're already there. It's actually not that difficult. And there are actually options. Let's say you would go for a Jogun. You can go a Jogun plus a Ganymede into a Lure and a Kaki, for example. Because you have your Jogun on Swift, it outspeeds the whole team, it strips, it gives you attack buff. Then you go for Ganymede, pushes back, or any unit that gives pushback, or any unit that would strip or do something. there's a lot of options to actually dismobile a team, and then you can actually follow up. Thing which is very important for arena offense is that your team actually does follow up. Also, an interesting thing, I tested that Pisama plus Tiana is slower than that same Tiana set on a Bernard using Chiwa and Bernard. Because Bernard actually has, you go from a 96 to 111 base speed, and you stack it with like the Swift runes and everything, and therefore your Bernard is actually going to be faster. Also, with Bernard tuning, you have the speed buff, which makes it way easier to tune your Galleon and your damage dealer. Another thing which is very important for any offense is that all of your units matter. Any unit can deal damage. Your Galleon should be able to do damage. Your Galleon should be on violent. If your Galleon is not on violent, you're doing something wrong. Because there's 15% check that you're actually not gonna land in individual check. Okay, I actually need one more accuracy, but don't mind that. You should have 85. But the 15% check is actually less. Well, it's 4 times 15%, so it's actually higher. But let's say an individual check, 15 is less. Then you're 22% chance to violent proc and put that additional armor break there. It saved my life a whole bunch of times. Plus, you want your Galleon to do damage. If your damage dealer is that, it does not mean that you lost the fight. But if your Galleon is an absolute shitter afterwards, you are going to lose that fight. So you actually want to put damage runes, but also artifacts. I see a lot of people, they go in with their speed booster, no artifacts. I'm like, yo, why not? It's like, yeah, it doesn't do damage. No, but it does this little bit damage, which could actually, or this little bit more tanky, which could actually win you that match. So if you really care to put like stuff to the max potential, put good artifacts to it. Because yes, there's good artifacts to this. Okay, this is probably not that great of an artifact on it. These are probably very old artifacts. But single target, crit damage. Well, this thing has a little bit of crit. Probably I had crit rate slot 4 on this before. But you actually, for me, they're kind of outdated. It's still important that does it. For example, this Tiana, this is not the greatest Tiana out there. It's decently speedy, but there's a lot of attack in it. You can also go for crit rate because your S2 is actually based on the enemy speed. Therefore, crit rate, crit damage is very good. You preferably have a bit more of accuracy, but I fixed accuracy in the S1 artifact. So again, you're focusing on like, okay, doing damage with those units as well. And sure, it's really important that your Poseidon and your Zyros do a lot of damage. But a lot of these units, it's actually more important that you dismobile their team rather than doing the most amount of damage. Lucian is all about damage. If you don't one-shot, you lose. Simple. But your Poseidon, I don't even care that the crit rate is max. What I would care more about in this build is that my accuracy is not max. Well, I have a 20 accuracy, but it's still 83. You want the 85. So those are the things in mind. Because if I miss a critter, but I push back and potentially stun something, I'm still winning. If I use Poseidon, there's always a second damage dealer, either Kaki or Pisama. Pisama is not really always the best damage dealer out there because it doesn't always get the turn when it needs. But if you have a Poseidon in there, max accuracy, you're pushbacking these aerials, you're literally even pushbacking them more before it can take a turn. This really works. And that's also the thing, even with the Zyros, the thing I care most about is not doing the most amount of damage, is not doing the most amount of crit rate, but is actually getting that accuracy to 85 to reset units. With a Pisama, however, sure, you don't care that much about that, but my Pisama is actually also for offense. Pisama, this is the best offense build you can get for a Pisama, because it's Will, Nemesis, and Blade. Looks really weird, but do you really need that Despair stun? Not really. If you're Lucian and you kill an enemy Pisama, because I mostly use my Pisama team with the Lucian against enemy Pisamas, you kill the Pisama, the enemy Pisama comes back, it doesn't have potential to stun you because I have will runes, but because he hits me, I will most likely take a turn because of the Nemesis in there. Also with this set, it's the most easiest to get like good stats on it, to still have like good amount of attack, good amount of crit rate, good amount of speed. This is not the most crazy Pisama out there, it's decently runed. I took away quite some runes from it, but that's the thing you want to focus on with a lot of stuff. Other teams I have, yeah, there's just a whole bunch of teams out there. But the thing I think is most important for you, you already know what you're hitting. Keep hitting those, make sure those teams are safe as possible. But go through the list, take those screenshots of teams you cannot fight. If you just cannot think of anything, sure, totally fine. I think I'm going to make a Discord, so if you're not in my Discord yet, join my Discord. I'm going to make a Discord, and you can just post an enemy or you can just post a defense, and the other people will reply to it like, okay, I would hit it like this, I would hit it like that. So with that, if you're really stuck on one specific defense, I will also be in there. I also have like a bunch of other things in my Discord. Those kind of mindsets is what you have to have for like, okay, this works, this works, this works. And the meta is rotating. I can make a video of like, okay, you can counter this by that, and this by that, and that by this. But it doesn't make too much sense. Every meta in every guild or every server is different. The meta is rotating, it's shifting. Some stuff does work, some stuff doesn't work. And it's best to have like actual feedback of what you see right now and how to counter it right now. And just have the idea of like thinking about your arena offense. And I also do it too little actually, because most of the time I'm just rushing, and then during the rush I'm like, yo, I should actually craft a team against this, and craft a team against that, and craft a team against this. And sometimes I do it. For example, this is one of those teams I was like, okay, I have issues with how fast, how can I fix it? Okay, if my Chiwu just moves pretty fast and my Kaki just does a lot of damage, I make my Lure. Again, Lure is just an armor breaker. No, Lure is not just an armor breaker. He is on the 85 act. He has a fight set. I don't really care about having him on violent because he doesn't armor break on S1. So I can just make him swift pretty easy. But I do care him for doing damage. And he actually, his third skill is always a crushing hit. So you add more crushing hit. So you just have a defense, or like you have an offense which you thought about, which you're like, okay, I crafted this. It makes sense. The whole thing, everything, it makes sense. I put good runes to it. I put good artifacts to it. And it works. So that's how you should focus on your arena offense. I know there was a whole bunch. I also know I'm one day too late for the free room removal. So sorry about that. But that happens. But yeah, I think this video is lengthy enough already. Guys, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. And again, if you want to see any specific teams or specific offense against specific things, there's a whole bunch of rush videos from me out there. Bunch where I get G3. I think I got G3 in like 90%, Legend in about 5%, and no G3 in about 5% or something. I tried a whole bunch of weird stuff. But there are a whole bunch of options for arena offense, and it would be too much. At first I thought like, okay, I'm gonna make an Excel sheet, and you have these kind of defenses, and then these kind of derivatives, and then these kind of defense, and this kind of derivatives, and you counter them by this, and this. Man, that Excel sheet would be like this freaking big, about like so many different kind of things. But what if it's this rune, or that rune, or this rune, or that rune? And the thing is, in the end, you just need, or like, what if you don't have this unit, or you don't have that unit, or you don't have this unit, or that? It's just too many variables. There's no way for me doing that. The best is just for you to get the mindset like, okay, what works, what to focus on, make sure everything is good runed. Don't just go for like, okay, I just have speed on my Tiana and it's fine. No, actually go that extra step for the damage. It truly helps you out. And that's it for this video, and thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Also, I'm probably going to make one that's also focusing on defense, similar style as this one, but then maybe a little bit more specific on the units, because for offense you can probably use like, let's say 200-300 units on offense. Maybe that's a little bit much, but let's say 100 to 150 units on offense. For defense, it's a lot more limited. There's probably like, let's say about 30 to 50 units which are viable on defense, and that's about it. Maybe less. So yeah, see you in the next one.